You stand still. Water burns. You are alone. Yet your jaw is clenched tightly, and your heart beats rapidly against your ribs. You fight back. You win easily. You are in the middle of a vicious argument. You are throwing absolute verbal daggers. You are completely destroying an opponent who is not even in the room. The hot water beats against your neck. You replay a conversation from 3 days ago. You finally deliver the perfect comeback. You win the fight. You feel a sudden rush of adrenaline. Then the water turns cold. You stop talking. You look at the empty tiles. A wave of silent shame washes over you. You feel your stomach tie itself into a tight knot. You stare at your hands. You feel a cold chill run down your spine despite the thick steam. You ask yourself a painful question. Am I actually losing my mind? You think you are just a petty person. You think you are holding on to toxic grudges. You believe this is a sign of deep social cowardice, simply because you could not say these things in real life. Society tells you to let it go. You try to force your brain to stop. It refuses to obey you. You assume your mental wiring is fundamentally broken. You feel like an absolute weirdo. You are entirely convinced that no normal human behaves this way. You think your emotional control is a malfunctioning fire alarm. It rings loudly when there is no actual fire. You try to wash away the embarrassment. You tell yourself to grow up. You judge yourself harshly. You are completely wrong. Your brain is not broken. It is running a highly classified survival protocol. What you are experiencing right now is not a petty grudge. It is a 3 million-year-old virtual reality simulation. Your prefrontal cortex has just hijacked your consciousness. It has locked you inside a secure biological bunker. It is aggressively testing your defensive capabilities against invisible threats. Why does your nervous system force you to fight these imaginary ghosts? Because it is utterly terrified of leaving you defenseless in the wild. You think you are just a coward arguing with shampoo bottles? You are absolutely wrong. Society has convinced you that imaginary arguments are a symptom of emotional immaturity. You stand there dripping wet, deeply ashamed of your own mind. You ask yourself why you cannot just let things go like a normal person. You peel back the first layer of guilt, assuming you are just a petty individual holding on to toxic resentment. That is incorrect. You peel back the second layer, thinking you are simply a social coward who lacks the courage to confront people in real life. That is also completely wrong. The truth behind this embarrassing habit is entirely different. In 2001, neuroscientist Marcus Raichle at Washington University made a groundbreaking discovery regarding the human brain in its resting state. He identified the default mode network. This is not a glitch in your personality. It is an incredibly sophisticated biological software program. When you step into the shower, the sensory deprivation and the warm water signal to your brain that you are finally safe from immediate physical danger. Your brain drops the heavy blast doors blocking out the external world. It then immediately boots up the default mode network. This network acts as a high-tech virtual reality simulator for your consciousness. But this is where every single self-help book has taught you completely wrong. They tell you to meditate, clear your mind, and just breathe. They treat your imaginary arguments like a disease you need to cure. What they completely fail to understand is that your brain is performing a highly advanced threat simulation. Let us use the controlled variable logic to examine your supposed incompetence. If you are standing directly in front of your intimidating boss, your amygdala detects a massive survival threat. It instantly floods your system with cortisol, hijacking your cognitive functions and shutting down your language centers. You freeze, you stutter, and you look completely foolish. The variable here is not your intelligence or your vocabulary. The variable is the perceived threat level. Now, change the environment to the isolation of your bathroom. The threat is gone. The amygdala powers down. Your prefrontal cortex regains full control. It initiates a highly detailed simulation of the conflict you just survived. Your brain is not being vindictive. It is actively reconstructing the trauma within a perfectly safe environment. It is calculating every possible variable, generating the precise vocabulary you lacked, and rewiring your neural pathways. You are preparing your biological weaponry. Every sharp comeback you whisper into the steam is a newly formed synaptic connection. Your brain is aggressively training you for the next potential encounter. It is ensuring that the next time you face a predator, you will not be caught off guard. You are not holding on to a grudge. You are forging a neurological shield. From the outside, you look like a strange person talking to the walls. But from the inside, your nervous system is executing a flawless survival strategy. Your brain is literally fighting to protect your future self. What this momentary awkwardness is merely the surface. What your brain is secretly calculating behind the curtain is vastly more astonishing. Why would an organ capable of solving complex mathematics completely shut down during a simple disagreement? Why does your mind force you to relive the exact same painful dialogue dozens of times? The answer lies exactly 300,000 years in the past. We must completely strip away the illusion of modern society to understand this phenomenon. You are currently operating a highly sophisticated piece of biological machinery that was custom-built for the brutal wilderness of the Pleistocene epoch. In that ancient, unforgiving world, a social conflict was never just a matter of a bruised ego or temporary embarrassment. It was a literal matter of life and death. If you lost a verbal dispute with a dominant alpha member of your tribe, you were not simply ignored or gossiped about. You were violently exiled from the communal fire. You were pushed out into the freezing dark night. You were left completely exposed to apex predators. For your ancient ancestors, social defeat meant immediate biological extinction. Therefore, your nervous system evolved to treat any social confrontation as a maximum-level biological emergency. The modern world has changed at lightning speed, but your neurological hardware has not received a software update in hundreds of millennia. When your coworker subtly insults you today, your conscious mind simply sees an annoying office interaction, but your amygdala sees a saber-toothed tiger preparing to strike. Your body perceives an absolute mortal threat. This evolutionary mismatch is exactly why you froze during the actual argument yesterday. Your sympathetic nervous system violently hijacked your body, short-circuited your language centers, and initiated an involuntary freeze response to prevent you from provoking the predator and getting yourself killed. Your humiliating silence was actually a brilliantly calculated evolutionary surrender. But now you are standing in the shower. The warm water is running continuously. The physical isolation perfectly signals to your brain that the immediate predator is finally gone. This is where the true evolutionary magic happens. Your prefrontal cortex violently boots up its threat simulation engine. It begins desperately working to ensure you never face that horrific vulnerability ever again. Every single imaginary scenario you create in the steam, every single hypothetical argument you relentlessly win, every single sharp word you meticulously select, every single facial expression you practice while staring blankly at the wet tiles. This is your brain aggressively updating its ancient survival code. It is pulling massive amounts of glucose from your bloodstream to fuel these complex mental projections. Your default mode network is burning calories at an astonishing rate to render these highly detailed virtual realities. It is rapidly analyzing the microscopic facial twitches of your opponent from 3 days ago. It is mapping out the exact vocal frequency required to establish future dominance without triggering a fatal retaliation. You are absolutely not holding a petty grudge or wallowing in toxic negativity. You are watching a master survival mechanism running at its absolute maximum computing power. This intense mental rehearsal is the exact same neurological process that allowed early Homo sapiens to outlive every other hominid species and dominate the entire food chain. Your ancestors survived the merciless wild precisely because their brains constantly simulated the worst-case scenarios before they actually happened in physical reality. They survived because they practiced throwing their spears in their minds 1,000 times before ever facing the mammoth. You are doing the exact same thing with your vocabulary today. You are the gazelle drinking at the watering hole, aggressively calculating the precise angle to dodge the lion before the lion even twitches a muscle. The shower is merely your safe training ground. Your brain is ruthlessly scanning the past environment, compiling infinite data points and running complex virtual reality simulations to guarantee your future existence. It is demanding that you are perfectly armed for the next inevitable conflict. It is an absolute biological masterpiece. So why does modern society continue to label this incredible cognitive achievement as a toxic personality flaw? You stand under the water, heavily burdened by your own thoughts, mercilessly dissecting every perceived flaw in your character. You label yourself. You convince yourself that you are fundamentally incapable of basic human interaction. You replay every single social failure, every clumsy text message you sent, every awkward silence you caused, every forced smile you had to fake just to blend in. You force yourself to perform, to maintain unbroken eye contact, to laugh at unfunny jokes, to constantly project the image of a perfectly functioning adult. You treat everyday conversations like a brutal theatrical performance. You are wearing a heavy spacesuit just to navigate a simple office environment, carefully calculating every single breath and every single nod to ensure nobody discovers your internal panic. You are completely exhausted. You believe your sudden urge to isolate yourself, your desperate need to cancel weekend plans at the very last minute, and your tendency to suddenly zone out in crowded rooms are signs of deep moral weakness. You call it laziness. You call it selfishness. You ruthlessly punish yourself for being a terrible friend. You desperately search for psychological disorders to explain your overwhelming desire to disappear. But you are wrong. Your nervous system simply shut down. You are totally innocent. Let us examine the empirical reality of your social terror. You are agonizing over a single stuttered word from yesterday, completely convinced that the entire world is secretly judging your incompetence. Research on cognitive working memory proves that the average human brain can only hold approximately 7 pieces of information for a mere 15 to 30 seconds. Unless your awkward mistake directly threatened their physical survival, their neural circuits automatically deleted your blunder in less than 1 minute. They completely erased your social failure to make room for their own overwhelming anxieties about their own lives. You are invisible, and you are safe. Your extreme social exhaustion is not a communication deficit. It is a strict biological boundary. When your eyes glaze over during a loud party, your brain is actively pulling the emergency brake. It detects a critical depletion of glucose in your prefrontal cortex. The vagus nerve initiates an immediate shutdown protocol, severing your social connectivity to protect your central nervous system from total sensory combustion. Your sudden withdrawal is not an act of cowardice. It is your body building a highly necessary fallout shelter. It is shielding you from the radioactive stress of an environment that demands constant, flawless interaction. Your brain is a traumatized bodyguard. It would rather trigger 100 false alarms, forcing you to lie awake overthinking at 2 in the morning, than miss one actual threat that could leave you vulnerable to attack. It does not hate you. It is just terrified of losing you. It is absorbing the damage so your conscious mind can survive another day in this chaotic modern world. You cannot reprogram a 3-million-year-old alarm system. Your biology is firmly hardwired for brutal physical survival. Your heart will still pound during stressful social moments. Your hands might still shake when the unknown number rings. Your mind will still construct imaginary battles in the shower. This is the undeniable reality of your complex human anatomy. Evolution dictates the automatic physical reactions of your nervous system. It forces your body to execute these intense protective measures. But evolution does not control the story you tell yourself afterward. The true enemy is never your shyness or your social awkwardness. The actual enemy is how you relentlessly punish yourself. You constantly abuse your own mind for simply doing its job. You treat your most loyal biological defender like a broken machine. You must stop participating in this toxic internal warfare today. Your brain is entirely exhausted from scanning for invisible predators. It needs your deep compassion instead of your harsh judgment. You have the absolute power to change this internal dynamic. You have the agency to establish a quiet mental boundary. The next time you catch yourself winning a fake argument, do not call yourself a petty or miserable coward. Do not force yourself to immediately snap out of it. Let the warm water wash over your tired physical body. Allow your prefrontal cortex to finish its protective virtual simulation. Acknowledge the immense invisible burden your nervous system carries daily. Your mind is simply creating a safe space for your emotions. It is building a quiet sanctuary to process your unexpressed frustrations. It is neutralizing the aggressive energy of the chaotic modern world. You fight these silent battles entirely alone inside your head. Nobody applauds you when you survive another exhausting office meeting. Nobody gives you a medal for suppressing your rising panic. But your intricate biological machinery registers every single hidden victory. It records your massive unseen efforts to remain perfectly intact. Take a slow and deliberate breath in the thick steam. Notice the steady rhythm of your chest rising and falling. Your awkwardness is actually a beautiful signature of your humanity. Your extreme sensitivity is a profound monument to your survival. Every micro-panic attack is proof of a relentless guardian. Your body is performing an invisible miracle every single day. It sacrifices its own comfort to guarantee your continuous existence. It absorbs the immense shock of an overstimulating digital society. You're a brave survivor of an incompatible modern timeline. You must grant yourself a permanent and radical biological absolution. You are completely normal. You are biologically triumphant. Your nervous system deserves a profound and quiet gratitude. It never abandoned you. It never betrayed you. Forgive your loyal mind.